Greater Houston is home to many world religions. These religions and their houses of worship demonstrate the wonderful mosaic of faith and culture that brighten the tapestry of our community. Interfaith Ministries for Greater Houston is proud to present this video series as a part of our mission to educate people and reduce stereotypes. This series is presented by the Interfaith Relations and Community Partnerships Department of Interfaith Ministries for Greater Houston. It is also a celebration of the Brigitte and Bashar Kalai Plaza of Respect, located at Interfaith Ministries' main campus in Midtown Houston. Let's take a closer look at the elements of our houses of worship and work towards a better understanding of our religions and culture. A synagogue is a place of worship for followers of the Jewish faith. It is a central institution in Jewish communities and serves as a gathering place for communal prayer, study, and social events. The synagogue is also often used as a venue for religious and cultural education, community outreach, and other activities that promote Jewish values and traditions.
So I want to start out. Tell me who you are and where we are.
I love what you're doing, and I'm honored to be part of it. My name is Brian Strauss, and I'm the senior rabbi of Congregation Beth Yeshurun, and we're in our Freeman Levitt Sanctuary, which is one of our 3 prayer spaces that we use here at Congregation Beth Yeshurun.
Wonderful. And this is a prayer space inside the house of worship for the Jewish people.
Correct.
And it's called a synagogue.
Correct.
So tell me a little bit about the significance of a synagogue, how it perpetuates, how it facilitates your traditions, your identity, and the culture of the community.
So the Hebrew term for synagogue is a Beit Knesset, which literally means a house of gathering. So first and foremost, it's a house of gathering, and it's a house of prayer. And it's also a Beit Midrash, a house of study. And here in our synagogue, we have schools for our children, we have adult learning, we have really opportunities to learn all facets of the Jewish tradition for people of all ages. And finally, going back to that idea of a Beit Knesset, a house of gathering, it's a place where the community gathers together, whether it's for social functions, life cycle events, sporting events. We offer pickleball here now. It's really a chance for Jews to gather together and feel the strength of community.
Then, who are the spiritual leaders of a Jewish community? Rabbis
are the leaders that are involved in leading prayers and teaching and officiating at life cycle events and so forth. And then in addition, we have cantors. Cantors, men and women who help lead the prayer services with their voices and in some synagogues with musical instruments. We also have gabbis, and they're there to help the rabbis and the cantors lead the different worship services. And finally, we have different lay leaders who may lead the synagogues, elected to their positions or appointed to their positions to help lead the synagogues and offer expertise and wisdom for a synagogue to stay strong.
You have a beautiful lobby here. Can you tell us a little bit about the significance of the lobby and what role it plays in the day-to-day life of the house of worship?
So we have a very unique lobby, as you mentioned. Most synagogues like ours will have greeters during the Shabbat services, for example. They're to hand out pamphlets or welcome books or prayer books, just to make people feel at ease. And so most synagogues, when they walk in, there'll be greeters. You may find an area where people can get what are called kippot, what we wear on our heads. And even our non-Jewish friends, when they come into a prayer worship space, they're expected to wear a kippah in order to pay respect to the tradition of covering our head when we walk into a prayer space. And what you'll always see on the door of a synagogue is what's called a mezuzah, which is on the doorpost of every Jewish home and on the doorpost of synagogues like ours, where inside are scrolls that are the words of the Shema, which comes from the Torah or the Old Testament. And there's the commandment to inscribe upon our doorpost the words of God, to make people feel that this is a Jewish place where God dwells.
And then how should one dress to come here? Do they need to should women wear a dress? Do they have to take their shoes off before they come in?
They don't take their shoes off.
Okay.
Friday nights, at least at our particular synagogue, tends to be more casual than Saturday mornings. Friday nights, people can wear, men can wear slacks and a button-down shirt. They don't have to wear a coat or tie. On Saturday mornings, it's more formal. And there people do wear coat and ties. Men do wear coat and ties, and women will dress more formal on a Saturday morning as opposed to a Friday night.
So let's move into the actual worship space.
Sure.
What is commonly called a sanctuary in the Christian tradition, but is that a term that you use within Judaism as well, the sanctuary?
We use the term sanctuary as well.
And what can we expect when we enter the sanctuary of a Jewish house of worship?
So what we'll always see is we'll see the Ark, which houses the scrolls of the Torah.
Is that what this is?
This is what this is right here, and we have several Torahs inside there, and there'll be at least one. And now the Torah in a conservative synagogue like ours is only taken out on Saturday mornings, and that's the 5 books of Moses. You also see what's called a ner tamid, an eternal light. That's based on at the temple that I mentioned earlier in Jerusalem. They would have an eternal light, a light representing God's presence. We have an artistic rendition of the first couple words of each of the 10 commandments. So in a lot of sanctuary spaces, you'll see 10 commandments, and you may say a Hebrew phrase on the wall. Like, for example, here we have the words, V'asuli mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham, build me a sanctuary that I may dwell amongst them. So you'll see some type of Hebrew verse that welcomes people in a sanctuary space.
And then what about a bima? What is a bima in a synagogue?
So we're on the bima right now.
Okay.
And it's really just, usually in the front of the synagogue, it's just a elevated platform where the rabbi and cantor and the ark will be on so people can see it throughout the sanctuary.
And you mentioned the ark. Tell us a little bit more about the significance of the ark and what it symbolizes to the people.
So when the children of Israel traveled in the desert, which makes up the second half of Exodus and the book of Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, the Ark of the Covenant followed with them, or was with them. And the Ark of the Covenant contained some of the original tablets of the Torah. So most synagogues today in their sanctuaries have an ark that kind of represents that. And inside today, we don't have the original Torah, of course, but we have other Torahs that have the 5 books of Moses. So it's kind of a memory of that, and it's closed until we open it during certain parts of the Saturday morning service when we take the Torah out. And anytime the ark is opened, we rise out of honor and respect for the Torah inside.
What can someone expect when you open these doors and you bring it out? Someone who's never seen all the ornamentation and everything. Kind of walk us through what that's like.
Sure. So it's a very beautiful process, and the Torah is treated with utmost dignity. Anytime it's held, you stand. When we walk out with the Torah or walk out to put it away, it's customary to kiss the Torah with your talis or with your prayer book to show respect to the Torah. It's covered, and there's a belt around it, and there's sometimes crowns on top of it. It's very ornate. It's glorified and beautified. And then when it's undressed, if you will, and opened up, it's not like a book, but it's literally a scroll. And it can take years for someone to write the Torah. Every word is written meticulously by a scribe. And it's checked several times throughout the year to make sure that none of the words are smeared. So it's still considered a kosher Torah, so we can read it on Saturday morning, for example. And then inside the Torah are the 5 books of Moses, from Genesis to Deuteronomy.
And there's a really interesting instrument that you use to read the Torah called the yad, is that correct?
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about that and why that's used.
So, you want to make sure the Torah is still kosher. And so, we don't want to touch the Torah inside the Torah with our hands, because they may be dirty or there may be oils on them and so forth. It may smear some of the words. So you use what's called a yad, which means hand, and you use this metal object to read when we chant the words of the Torah.
So talk a little bit about a menorah. What is the significance of that? Those outside the tradition, we associate it with Hanukkah, but does it have a bigger meaning or a bigger purpose outside of that holiday?
I'm glad you brought that up. The ones here they're not 8 branches like 8 days of Hanukkah, they're 7. So the original menorah had 7 branches. And the original menorah, and menorahs technically have 7 for the 7 days a week. The story of Hanukkah is the Maccabees, of course, were able to drive the Assyrian Greeks out of the land of Israel and regain a sense of Jewish independence. And they only had enough oil to relight that menorah for 1 day, but miraculously lasted for 8 days. And so during Hanukkah, we light not a menorah, but a Hanukkah, which is similar to menorah, but it has 8 branches plus really a 9th for the shamash, the helper candle, to light the other 8. And so Hanukkah is just lit during the 8 days of Hanukkah.
So I have another hard word, and I think you mentioned this before. I think it's what we see right here.
The Ner Tamid?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so tell us again, what is the meaning and significance? Are we gonna see this in every house of worship of Judaism?
Yeah,
okay.
no, you will. And God in Judaism is often symbolized by light, and the light that God brings into this world. And so we have the Ner Tamid, the eternal light, that's lit in sanctuary spaces, usually right near the ark or above the ark.
That's what my question was. Is it always close to the ark?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Good. Well, are there any last thoughts that you want to share, or is there anything that I didn't ask that you would love to share with our audience?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you doing this, and I'm honored to be part of it. I think it's great that you are highlighting one of the strengths of this city, is that we are the most diverse community in the United States, and we Jews feel a big part of that, and are proud to say that Houston is a great place to live because of our diversity. And so we feel a very integrated part of this community, as generations of Jews have, and will, God willing, continue for many years to come. So thank you for having me part of this, and we hope to have you back and many times in the future.